Hi, my name is Kristen Martin, and this is my mutual fund project for Finance 451. My first section that I analyzed was sector funds. I decided to go with two energy funds, my first one being an Investico Energy Fund Investor Class, and my second one being a Vanguard Energy Fund Investor Shares. My turnover for the Investico was 9%, and my turnover for Vanguard was 24%. My expense ratio for Investico was 1.33%, and my expense ratio for Vanguard is 0.38%. So we can see that Vanguard has a higher turnover and Investico has a higher expense ratio. Investico's expense ratio is actually pretty high for a energy fund. So its performance was 1 year was negative 8.5% return, and at 5 years it was negative 10.47%, while Vanguard's was at 1 year negative 4.91% return, and the 5 year was negative 3.49%. So even though these are both negative, I think that the Vanguard would be a better investment because they have better returns for both years, well, for the 1 year and the 5 year. And this may be due to the expense ratio for Investico because their expense ratio is so high and their returns are very low. So the current manager for the Investico is Norman MacDonald. He's a CPA and he's been managing this fund since 2013. And the current manager for Vanguard is James Stetler. He has an MBA and he's been managing this one since 2012. My next section is domestic funds. My first one is a T. Rowe Price Target 2060, which I'm actually personally invested in through my company's 401k. So I wanted to delve a little bit into this and see how it compares to other target retirement funds. So this one is a Vanguard Target Retirement 2060 fund. So the turnover for the T Rowe is 29% and Vanguard's is 4%. T Rowe's turnover is considerably higher than Vanguard's, as you can see. The expense ratio for T Rowe's is 0.75% and Vanguard's is 0.15%. So once again, the expense ratio for T Rowe's is much higher than Vanguard's. So we see for the performance at 1 year, T Rowe's is negative 2.18%, and the 5 year is negative 7.73%. For Vanguard, their 1 year is negative 2.3%, and the 5 year is negative 6.31%. So even though T Rowe may have made a little bit more than the Vanguard has within the last year, over the long run, Vanguard has made more over the past 5 years. So I would feel like the Vanguard would be a better investment in this situation. So the current manager for T. Rowe's fund is Jerome Clark. He has a CPA and he's been managing this fund since 2014. And the Vanguard manager is William Coleman. He has an MBA and he's been managing this fund since 2013. So my next section is international funds. I decided to do European funds. My first one is a T. Rowe Price European stock, and my second one is a Fidelity European stock. So the turnover for the T. Rowe is 48%, and the Fidelity is 73%. The Fidelity's turnover is very high, especially compared to T. Rowe's turnover. The expense ratio for the international fund is 0.96% and the Fidelity's is 1%. So I did a little bit of research on this and I wanted to know why both of these international funds have such a high expense ratio. And I found out that they have to have a high expense ratio in order to cover their operational costs. They have many administrations in different countries in order to build this fund, so they have a higher cost than other funds do. So the performance in 1 year for the T row is negative 7.6%, and the 5 year return is negative 2.2%. And Fidelity's at 1 year is negative 11.1%, and the 5 year is negative 1.59%. So I feel like the T row price European stock fund would be a better investment here. They have a lower turnover, a lower expense, and they have a slightly higher performance than the Fidelity one has. So the manager for the T row is Dean Tenerelli. He has an MBA and he's been managing this fund since 2005. The Fidelity Fund, their current manager is Stefan Lindblad, and he's been managing this fund since 2005.